Welcome back to the Nerdy Grill and welcome to a brand new ranking here on the channel. Now, way back a couple of months ago on around the 15th of October, so just before the release of Pokemon Legends ZA, I did a ranking of all 26 new Megas that had been revealed through leaks or through teaser trailers or by official confirmation from Game Freak, Nintendo, the Pokemon Company, and I gave you my personal thoughts, so I'll leave a link in the description down below for you to check out that original video. But ever since then, obviously the game's come out, it's been out for a couple of months now, we had the DLC drop, and the DLC brought a lot of new Megas. I think roughly like 20, 21 new Megas, if you want to count forms as new Megas, multiple forms of the same Pokemon. And so in today's video, I decided, since I finally got round to playing the DLC, because I was quite late to playing the DLC, because I decided to go back and replay the game again using a different starter, and then play the DLC, I finally got to play the DLC, and I got to see all these new Megas in action, got to check out their designs, any new types, and how good they are in-game. So I've got them all down the bottom. Now, one thing you will notice is when it comes to Mega Tatsugiri, I didn't include all the forms. There are a couple of variants of the form, but they are more or less the same, so I thought I'm just going to bundle them all in together. So we've got roughly 19 new Megas that I'm going to be talking about in this video. A couple of the Megas I did briefly go over in the last video because they were revealed beforehand. I'm of course talking about Mega Raichu X and Y, but I thought since they are technically the DLC Megas, I would include them in this particular video. And basically, in terms of how I'm going to categorize them, in terms of the best to meh, basically I sort of do it in terms of the design and also whether I think they needed a Mega, deserved a Mega, and whether the changes made to them were actually beneficial or actually any good overall. So without any further ado, let's jump straight into this ranking of all the DLC Megas we got in Pokemon Legends ZA. So of course, we're going to start off with the ones that we got given confirmation of back when the main game came out. So I'm of course talking about Mega Raichu X and Mega Raichu Y. Now, my opinions on these have changed as time's gone on, but also they haven't changed dramatically, so they are more or less the same. And I must admit that design-wise, I actually really prefer Mega Raichu X over Mega Raichu Y. So if I'm perfectly honest, I'm going to put Mega Raichu X up here in the best because I just love the colour scheme. I love the more Pikachu aesthetic that it gives off. It does look a lot better for me. And then Mega Raichu Y, I do think is great and is a decent Mega, but I wouldn't quite put it on the same par as Mega Raichu X. I know some people will differ there, but they are both pretty solid, and it is, Pikachu, being pretty much the mascot of the franchise. I think out of all the Pokemon that have had like double Megas, such as like Charizard, of course, I think Pikachu or Raichu deserve to get a bit more love. Now Raichu's got lots of forms. You've got normal Raichu, a Alolan Raichu, 2 Mega Raichus. There's so many different forms of Raichu now. Next up, then, we have got Mega Chimecho. Now, this is a Pokemon that I generally did not expect to get a Mega, but do I think it deserved Mega? Yeah, I feel like this Pokemon like Chimecho that needed something because it always felt a bit underrated, it always felt a bit weak, a bit feeble, and so I feel like a Mega really did benefit it, and I really do like the design of Mega Chimecho. I think it's really, really cool. I love all the little Chimechos that hang off it. It really is cool, and I love that its sort of body shape is almost a giant Chingling, and I think that is really, really cool, combining the whole evolution line in one go. So I'm going to put Mega Chimecho up here in great, because I think that Chimecho deserved it, because it needed some form of love, and I think the overall design is really, really cool. So giving Chimecho a bit of a buff was really, really well deserved. This was an interesting one, and this is, giving Absol a second Mega Evolution. So Mega Absol Z, which actually does change Absol's type to Dark and Ghost, which I think is a really, really interesting type combination. And his design is really, really sick. I love the aesthetic. I love the big red claw hand looking thing with his fur on the back. I think that's really, really cool. I have used him in game, and he is really, really sick and cool. So for me, I'm going to put Mega Absol up here in the best, because for me, he is sick and he is amazing. Then Now, anyone who knows me, I obviously Sinnoh was the first generation that I officially technically played, even though I went back and played Gens 3, 2, and 1. But Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were the first Pokemon games I officially ever played. And so a general Sinnoh team usually consists of your starter, and then you'll probably pick a combination of like Roserade, Staraptor, and Luxray. And so I always thought that Staraptor, you know, is probably the best early game bird in all of Pokemon history. Still to this day, in my personal opinion. And I think Staraptor actually getting a Mega Evolution is really, really good. And the fact that it changes from a normal flying type into a fighting flying type, I think is perfect, considering when Staravia evolves into Staraptor, he learns the move Close Combat, one of the strongest fighting type moves, and a really good fighting type move. I think giving him the fighting type into his type combination is really, really good. And we don't have an awful lot of fighting flying types. Obviously, we're like Hawlucha and stuff like that. But it is really, really nice to add that to the mix. They don't dramatically change Staraptor's overall design. He is more or less quite similar, but it's subtle and different enough to warrant it. And I love the type change. So this is more of a personal bias to me, but I think Mega Staraptor is sick, and he's going up in the top tier for me. Then we've got Mega Garchomp Z. Now, did Garchomp really need another Mega? If I'm honest, this might be just me, in my personal opinion. I don't honestly think he did. You know, he's a pseudo-legendary, so he's already overpowered. He was given a Mega, which there's some pseudos I don't think really needed to. But I wasn't against Garchomp getting a Mega. However, this Mega, he is now just pure Dragon type, which I think is interesting. You know, we don't get many pure Dragon types. There's a couple out there, obviously. You know, like Druddigon and I was about to say Dragonite then, but there's a couple of pure Dragons out there. Haxorus, for example. You know, so it's an interesting one. And he is a cool looking design, don't get me wrong. I really, really do like Mega Garchomp. And I think I'm gonna put him probably up in great, because I do really like him, but I can't quite put him in like top tier because I'm umming and ahhing as to whether he genuinely needs to have that Mega. This one for me, the next one now, we've got, which was one of the first ones revealed, you know, we got a new Mega Lucario Z. Now, if I'm honest, Mega Lucario, I adore the original Mega Lucario. I think it's way better. His design is way better. The fact that they don't even change Lucario's type for this new Mega, I think is silly. They could have at least done something a bit different. His stats do change depending on the variant, but other than that, there's not an awful lot. And I'm not a massive fan of it. And I've seen lots of memes of this Lucario's design, you know, his like the floppy aura ear things at the back, you know, looking a bit like Barboaches and stuff like that. I'm not over keen on the colour scheme that's used as well. I don't know, I just think the original was sick enough and they should have just left it alone. It's not a terrible Mega, it's not mare-worthy, but I think this is going to be the first candidate for me that's going to be going down into good territory, because I don't really see the necessity for this particular one, especially when the original is still probably better in my personal opinion. Mega Heatran. Now, my opinion on giving Megas to legendaries or mythical Pokemon, I think is bizarre. You know, I'm not too sure it's really worth it, if I'm perfectly honest. And, you know, recently in the last week or so, when I did the Hyperspace Mega Arena battle for Mega Heatran and saw Mega Heatran for the first time in game, I thought, what the actual hell is this? This is really insane. He gives me not Mega Gengar vibes, he gives me, you know, the Gigantamax Gengar vibes from Sword and Shield with the giant mouth opening up. He looks really, really weird, if I'm perfectly honest. I'm really unsure about him. He's good, but I can't quite say he's great. And as a legendary, you know, even Omega Rayquaza or Rayquaza, I say it both ways, is solid and sick. I'm still a bit like, do legendaries need Megas? I'm not too sure. So for me, I'm going to put Mega Heatran down in good. It's not mare-worthy, but it can't go high into like the great and the best, because there's just too much holding it back for me. Mega Darkrai. Now, I'm sorry, but I'm not a fan of this one at all. Again, mythicals and legendaries, I'm unsure whether they need Megas in the first place. Darkrai is one of the sickest looking mythical legendary Pokemon of all time. The Rise of Darkrai was actually the first Pokemon movie I ever watched, so I hold a special place in my heart with that one. He's a great Pokemon, and I just don't understand what this Mega design is. It is just one of the most bizarre looking things I have ever seen, and I genuinely, honestly thought it was a fake Mega. And it's just bizarre. I don't like it at all. It's too weird. It gives me like a Black Doom vibes from the Shadow the Hedgehog series. It's really weird. For me, it's the first candidate that's going down in meh, just because I can't look at it. I can't look at it, and I don't get it. I know some people are probably going to be really annoyed with that, because you probably adore Mega Darkrai, and if you do, that is great, because you got to remember, this video is just my opinion, and I'm not saying that it didn't, you know, the Mega needs to be wiped from existence. I'm just saying I don't personally like it. I don't personally see why it got the Mega. But, you know, each to their own, I suppose. Then we've got Mega Golurk, which, you know, Golurk's a decent Pokemon from Generation 5. The Unova region seemed to get a lot of love in Legend ZA, whether it was Megas, whether it was bringing over their Pokedex for the most part, you know, that sort of thing. It did get a lot of love, and I'm glad, because Unova got a lot of stick back in the day, because lots of people thought it was a carbon copy of Gen 1, where a lot of Pokemon seemed to be like going over what Gen 1 Pokemon did. And it was the first generation in a long time to have a brand new Pokedex where there was no returning Pokemon. So I'm glad Gen 5 is getting a lot more love. And, you know, they've been teasing like a Mega Golurk for a very long time, even back in like X and Y and stuff like that, when they thought maybe Gen 5 remakes were coming up, which I still hope Gen 5 remakes are coming. But Mega Golurk is simple enough to where it's a decent-esque design, and it does buff, you know, a Pokemon that I thought was always seen as a mid-tier in terms of the Unova region. So I think it's a good Mega, but I'd be lying to you if I said it was a great Mega. It's good, but it doesn't quite go into great or the best tier for me personally. Mega Meowstic, again, this is one that I didn't anticipate getting a Mega. I don't really get why it got a Mega, but I must admit, the concept of its design is really cool. How it is like a split half and half of both the male and the female variants, I thought was really cool. I thought its Mega Arena battle was really good with the Trick Room as well. You have to break down through the back door in order to get it. I thought that was really cool. And Meowstic is not the most powerful Pokemon, so a bit like Chimecho, it sort of needed something to give it that little extra bit of a boost. So I thought that was cool to say the least. So if I'm being honest, I'm gonna say that Mega Meowstic, I don't know. It's a cool-esque design. It's probably still going to be going down in meh for me, though, personally. Just because I'm not a fan of Meowstic as a Pokemon overall. But I will give it some credit. The design is really unique and is a lot more, you know, makes more sense than the Mega Darkrai design that we got. Then moving on, we've got Mega Crabominable. Now, Crabominable is another Pokemon that gets a lot of stick, you know, when it was introduced. Back in the Sun and Moon era of Pokemon, you know, especially since you couldn't get its evolved form, the evolved form, Crabominable, until really late in the game. They did fix it then in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for Crabominable. I don't think it's terrible. So for me, personally, I'm going to put him up in good. He's not a terrible design. He's not a terrible concept, and I think a little bit more love for Crabominable is probably needed. I thought it was really interesting in the side mission where you had the two Crabominables fighting against each other and then you had to take them on. I thought that was pretty cool. So yeah, I quite like Crabominable. Then you've got Mega Golisopod, and oh wow, what an interesting Pokemon that is. Turning into a Bug Steel type from the Bug Water type, Golisopod is such a cool Pokemon. And I was so happy that we were able to catch Wimpod in order to evolve it and then get Mega Golisopod. So he's just such a cool design. So for me, he's going up in great because he's just solid, really cool. I like the two almost like gun things that come at the top. It's just really, really neat. Yeah, he's really, really good, and I'd highly recommend Mega Golisopod. Mega Magearna is cool. I like the little gears that go around it, which is really, really neat. Again, it's that thing of, does mythicals and legendaries really need megas? Do they deserve megas? And I'm like, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool design. I do quite like it. and I do like Magearna as a Pokemon. Again, I'm a bit unsure whether I want to put it in great or good. It is really, really tough. I think, like, in terms of, like, overall design, I think Mega Magearna is really, really neat. I'm going to put Mega Magearna in great because I really do like Magearna as a Pokemon, and I think the design is also really, really cool, but did it need it? I'm not too sure. Mega Zeora, I mean, it's just cool as hell. Just cool as hell, straight away going up in the best. I remember watching the trailer for this when it came out, teasing it, and I thought, wow, that is sick. It really gives me Luxray vibes in terms of the colour scheme with the yellow, the black, and the blue colour scheme. It really does. Imagine Luxray standing on the back two paws. Looks really, really cool. Again, that thing of like mythicals, legendaries, whatever. Getting Megas, yeah, I know it's a bit hypocritical, but I just, so cool. Just such a cool design. Zeraora is such a cool looking Pokemon. Love it. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. This one's a bit of a personal preference for me. Mega Scovillain is also going up in the best. I think he's really cool. I love Scovillain as a Pokemon. You know, the Chili Peppers, the Fire Grass type, the duo, it really looks cool. He's basically like an even hotter pepper. You know, imagine the spice going to you and you just can't control the temperature. I like almost like the Thai looking thing at the front, which is like a big, almost like chili pepper or lava stricken down it, but it's like a chili pepper almost going down it. I think it's really, really cool. Yeah, I just think it's sick, and definitely a Mega to use on any team, if I'm perfectly honest. Then we got Mega Glimmora. Didn't expect this to get a Mega, if I'm perfectly honest. And I'm not going to lie, before I saw it in game, it was through a clip from Purple Cliff that I saw that this Pokemon even existed to begin with. So I thought, wow, that's really a thing. But yeah, it's interesting to say the least. But I'm not too sure I'm really a massive fan of it. And to be honest, Glimmora as a Pokemon has always been a bit hit or miss for me. I'm probably going to get a lot of stick for this. But if I'm honest, I just think Glimmora is just kind of meh. The Mega Glimmora is just kind of meh for me, if I'm perfectly honest. Probably will get a bit of stick for that, but just remember, it's just my personal opinion. Don't get me wrong, I think Glimmora deserves a Mega. I'm just not sure that was the Mega that I expected, and I think they could have maybe done a little bit more, if I'm perfectly honest. Now, like I said, there's like 3 different versions of Mega Tatsugiri, you know, from like a droopy form to a, you know, there's lots of different forms. I just combine them all together and I'm just doing Mega Tatsugiri as a concept overall because there's not too much variation in the designs. When the battle of Mega Tatsugiri I thought was interesting, just seeing the giant plate of like fish and sushi and stuff, I thought was really quite hilarious to do it. The fact you do it in one of the restaurants I thought was cool. And Tatsugiri as a Pokemon has always just been a bit baffling to me anyway, you know, but it was really, really cool, and it is really colourful and cheery. I struggle to not like Mega Tatsugiri. So if I'm being honest, yeah, I'm probably going to be, it's going to probably be a bit of a weird one, and people are probably going to be like, what? But I'm going to put Mega Tatsugiri up in great, because I do really like Mega Tatsugiri. And then finally, to finish off, we've got Mega Baxcalibur, which, you know, another pseudo-legendary, getting another Mega, you know, it's always a bit hit or miss. They don't really change his design very much, which, you know, is fine. He does look cool, you know, pun intended, I guess, considering Baxcalibur is part Ice-type, which is a really interesting type combination, if I'm perfectly honest. You know, to have the Ice Dragon type, I think is really, really cool. But yeah, I'm a bit unsure about where I would like to place Baxcalibur. It's one of the few Megas on here I've not actually used in-game yet, but I have seen clips and seen it and all, obviously. But yeah, I'm not sure with Baxcalibur. I think he's good. He definitely doesn't belong in Meh. I think he's definitely a good Mega, but I don't think he's anything spectacular, in my personal opinion. I'm not too sure. I could be being a bit harsh. I'm going to put Mega Baxcalibur down in good, but just know that he possibly could go into great. he's sort of floating between the two, if I'm perfectly honest. And yeah, same with like Mega Heatran. I feel like Mega Heatran could also float between great and good. But yeah, apart from that, I think I'm fairly happy with my list and how I've put it. But yeah, that is going to be my ranking now of all the DLC Megas in Pokemon Legends. Yeah, I can't believe how many new Megas we got in this game. Like I said, we've had like 40-odd new Mega Pokemon, and that's like ridiculous to add to the list. I'm glad that some Pokemon got a bit more love than others, you know, but there was some that I'm like, did you really need it? Probably not. But yeah, so I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving it a thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts on the DLC new Megas, which are your favourites, which are your least favourites. But make sure all comments are respectful, please, and subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is the Nerdy Grill signing off. I hope you've had an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.